Hello everyone, Renata from the East By here with Cookie, and we are about to go to the train station to embark on a trip to Oulu. We've got a really exciting weekend plan with tons of cool stuff, so come along and join us. One of my travel traditions is to stop at Arkioski and get myself a coffee and a bun. They have really great discounts on the app, by the way. They're doing repairs on the tracks right now, so I did have to take a bus replacement for the first part of my journey, but it wasn't too bad. It was only like an hour, and I got to see some nice sights of the lakes and the forests along the way. All right, so our first stop was in a place called Suonenjoki, which is a small town in the Savo region near Kuopio. This is my first time in Savo, and it's definitely my first time in Suonenjoki. I actually had never heard of this place before. They are famous for strawberries, as you can see here. And as soon as I got out of the bus, I could see that there was strawberry stuff everywhere, including strawberries painted on the sidewalks and signs about strawberries. So I've got about an hour before I have to catch my train. And I'm gonna see if I can find some strawberries. Maybe I'm just gonna have to settle for a coffee somewhere, but we'll see. So we went for a little walk and I found delicious strawberries from some old lady in the park. And I stopped at the Koffila Kinuski Huone. It's really cool inside, but it's a nice day and we're gonna spend all day on the train, so I figured we'd just stay out here. Also, I've got Cookie. I think that they're pet friendly, but I don't wanna bring her in there. And I've got a coffee to drink, so coffee, strawberries, nice little pit stop. I know you should wash fruit before you eat them, but I'm sure they're organic. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, even Cookie wants even Cookie wants. Look how red that is. That is a strawberry. That is Suonenjoki Mansiga. Would it be Suonenjoen Mansiga? We had a pretty long train ride to Oulu. Cookie does travel pretty well, although sometimes she can be a little bit nasty if there's a lot of other dogs on the train, and this case was one of those times where she only got to come out for a little bit because she kept barking every time that I would have her out. So this was one of those times. After arriving in Oulu, I went to the Wingers Sports Bar to get some dinner and to watch the basketball game, which was Finland versus Poland. The decorations in this place were so cool. I was totally impressed. They really got all the details perfectly right. Perfect sports bar vibe, super Americana, everything. Everywhere I looked was just another detail, like these baseball bats that were holding up all of the booth tables. I could tell that whoever designed like the visuals of this bar had definitely spent a lot of time in the United States, because you could plop this down in the US and it would be totally believable. Another nice touch was that the menu had all of these sports themes for the different sections, which was just really cute. As far as the food, I got buffalo chicken wings, and it was not really buffalo sauce. It was more of like a sweet and sour sauce you would get from a Chinese restaurant, but it was still really, really good. And I also got some curly fries with ranch. And again, it wasn't really ranch, but it was fine, and I really did enjoy my meal. Next, I went to the Nightclub 45 Special, which was hosting the qualifying round of the Air Guitar World Championships, which is exactly what it sounds like, and it was absolutely incredible. The next day, I headed out to go to the Vauhtikiityy Festival, but on the way, took a really nice long walk through the cemetery in Oulu. It was gorgeous. It was so well maintained. There were some really interesting gravestones with beautiful carvings and interesting designs. These ones were very old, and it was just such a nice walk before a really interesting concert. The first artist I saw at the festival was Petri Nygård, and I'm showing this from a far distance. I don't even know if YouTube will let me show this, but this was my reaction to what I was seeing. But the absolute highlight of the night and of the trip for me was seeing my favorite band, Portion Boys. And as always, they are just incredible. They put on such a good show. This was like my 6th or 7th time seeing them, and it only gets better with time. I could never get tired of going to Portion Boys concerts. The last performer of the night was Erica Vickman. This is the second time I've seen Erica in concert, and she was amazing. However, I will say that I was very tired, and it was very cold, and the people in the crowd were very drunk. So I did leave a little bit early, but this was only the first day of the festival, and there was still a whole other day of music to enjoy. So even though the day started out really rainy and really cold, the first act of the day was Resu Redford, and he was amazing. Also, what a dilf. But you could just tell this guy is a seasoned performer, loves to do it, was so good at it. I really enjoyed it. I only knew like 1 or 2 songs, but that really didn't matter. It was a great show. Next up was Pasi ja Anssi, and they were an act that I was really excited to see. I did get to see them back in November, right after I moved to Finland, and they were super awesome, and that was no different today. They put on such a good show, and I really do enjoy their music, and it was super entertaining. Also, the sky finally cleared up, so it wasn't quite as rainy or as cold anymore at that point. I did end up leaving the festival for a little bit to go and get lunch. I saw this pho restaurant the last time I was in Oulu, but I didn't get a chance to eat there, so I was really excited to go and check it out, and it was delicious. Pho is one of my favorite foods, and I'll tell you what, on a cold and rainy day, this was exactly what the doctor ordered. I went back to the festival in the evening, and I gotta tell you, they had a pretty good setup for this festival, even though it was only 2 days. They had tons of food options, so many places to sit down. They had a bunch of vendors, a tattoo studio. They even had this area with mirrors and all these toiletries so that you could, like fix your makeup and stuff. This was also the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was like a hot sauce library that you could just go for free and get whatever hot sauces that you wanted to try. They had an absolutely insane selection. If I had got food there, I would have tried some new sauces for sure. The next artist that I saw was Arttu Wiskari, and he's admittedly not my taste. However, the show was really good. The band was awesome. And something that was really nice was that on the background screen, he had the lyrics almost like a karaoke. So it meant that everybody, even if they didn't know the songs, could sing along to them. And it made the atmosphere like in the crowd really nice because people were participating. And even though at that point in the day, people were getting kind of drunk, it sort of like kept them focused. But the artist that I was most excited to see on day 2 was Benjamin Peltonen. He was in UMK a couple years ago, and he was awesome. And ever since he was in UMK, I've wanted to see him live. The whole almost year that I've been in Finland, I have not had a chance to, so this was finally my chance. I got a really great spot up front, so I had an awesome view, and he was so good. He's such a good dancer. He had these 5 other dancers with him. He did I wouldn't call them skits necessarily, but there was a lot of stuff going on, just absolutely incredible entertainment. And actually, the whole festival was really great. I definitely recommend going to a Vauhtikiityy Festival. They do have them in the summer, and they also do some pikujolu events later on in the year. Hey everybody, on my way right now to the Oulu Music Video Festival, going to see David Lynch music videos. This is the last planned event of my very eventful weekend. Obviously, I won't be able to really show much of the music video festival because you shouldn't be filming, but hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit of recap once it's done. Oulu is beautiful and the sun is shining. It's a great day. This part of the music video festival was held at the Kulttuuritalo Valve, and this was a really neat building. It had an interior courtyard that was all covered with a neat cafe. They were playing very cool music. It had super great vibes. There was also this neat little comic book shop, and unfortunately it was closed, but I did get to peek inside the window. It did look pretty neat. In one of the hallways, there was a little free art exhibition, which was cool, and I really liked the interior of the building. This is definitely a place that I would go back to for another event, but I was there to see the music video festival, and the hall that they did the viewing in was very cool, very cozy, very professional. They had a really cool selection of music videos. Some of them were directed by David Lynch of other people's music. It had some Moby, Nine Inch Nails, Interpol, for example. And there was also music that was by David Lynch and videos who were directed by other people. And then there were some David Lynch songs that had videos that were also directed by David Lynch. So it was a really neat kind of mix of David Lynch music videos. Since this was my last full day in Oulu and the weather was gorgeous, I did go walking around town for a little bit of sightseeing. The last time I was in Oulu for the first time, it was less than 24 hours, so I really didn't get to see much. I do love the market square. However, it was Sunday, so not a whole lot was going on, but there was a few vendors that were out and they were selling lots of fresh fruits and vegetables and mushrooms and everything that's good. And I also checked out some of the parks, some of the old, interesting, historic buildings. And it was just a really great day to go on a nice, peaceful walk. I do think that for a big city, Oulu is remarkably peaceful and just very, very beautiful. One downside to Oulu is it doesn't really have a modern travel center like we have in Jyväskylä, but that's okay. No place is perfect, and I had a wonderful time.